Hey listening friends, I'm your host and coach Laura Malone. As an entrepreneur and leader, wife and mom, teacher and creator, I am showing up to share possibility with you and help you find vision and wisdom because you deserve to be equipped and released as the hero of your own story. Coaching really does help you change your life. And if you want to know how to guide yourself and others well, I created this podcast just for you. It's a place where you can grab tools, teachings, and ideas for both personal and spiritual growth, as well as entrepreneurship and coaching if that's your thing. So as you listen in, I pray I can help you create a legacy of impact and really start writing the story of a life you love living. Now let's jump into today's episode. Hello, all of you good-looking listeners. I have something really fun. And maybe you won't think it's fun, but I think it's fun. So I actually want you to stop and think. When have you overcome something that was a major obstacle in your life? When have you done something challenging, something new to you, something really difficult? And when have you walked through a terrible season and come out of the darkness to find light? Thank you, Gloria Estefan. So I want you to think about these things. And then what I want you to do is we're going to pull them together and make a reminder movie. A reminder movie. We're reminding ourselves. You pull together these memories of overcoming, of surpassing, superseding, walking through, persevering. You take the memories of when you've actually done this in your past, and I promise you, every one of you listening, you have done these things. You just haven't paid attention. Sometimes we get stuck on the struggle, and we don't see what we become capable of. We don't actually stop and paying attention to who we are in the midst of it. What is happening inside, the character that it's building. We don't pay attention to the winning on the end of it because we're stuck on the pain and the hardship and the lack of whatever it is we think we should have had, we deserved, right? So when we focus on those things, we forget to see the victory in it. We forget to learn what we succeeded in. We get focused on the negative, what we've made negative, and we forget to look at what we can really celebrate about it. I want you to think about those areas of your life, those pieces of your story. I want you to write them down because you're going to make a movie out of these moments of how you've pushed through and made a way and climbed over something and found the sun shining on your face again. So I encourage you to write them down and then actually remember those moments when you really came through something. I want you to remember it. I want you to sit in it for a little bit and imagine it. Go back to the time. Experience what you felt. Think what you were thinking. Be who you were in that moment and actually experience what it was like to get through it, to be done with it, to have gotten to the other side. What's that like? And see yourself actually walking through the pieces of your story. So I'm going to tell you about one of my reminder movies. This is an example of a few things that have happened in my life that I tied together into a movie that I play in my mind when I need some strength, when I need reminders of what I'm capable of, what is possible, and who God is in my life. You don't have to do this, but I gave my reminder movie, a title. It's called I Fly Through Hard Things. So it starts out with me as a young girl flying down the hill in my neighborhood on my 10-speed. Did you have a 10-speed? As a young girl, I knew that I was basically raising myself But I didn't know how to change anything necessarily in my life. I didn't actually even know how poor we were. I didn't know because I didn't know anything outside of my neighborhood. I didn't know there were other ways of life. I knew a lot of people in my neighborhood had parents that were married. I knew a lot of people in my neighborhood, well, nobody in my neighborhood had had mental illness in their family that I knew of anyway. And I knew that most of my friends, their moms didn't have to work so hard as mine did. But I knew that I was getting through somehow. And so I see the look on my face as a young girl on my 10-speed. I'm so happy to have this bike, right? And I can see the look on my face. And then it shifts into I'm in another country where I'm actually being threatened. And I see an angel sweep me up and fly me away from the death and the destruction of my soul that was very possible in that moment. So one day I'm flying on my bike, and the next minute I'm being flown away by an angel, and then I'm suddenly in a plane, and I'm flying back and forth across the country with my 3 little girls, and then I'm flying like in a dream when you fly with your arms outstretched, like you can, like Wendy and Peter Pan. And I'm flying, literally going around the country through all of the houses we've lived in, which is 19 over my 20 years of marriage at this point. And then it turns into I am flying on my Peloton as I chase Robin Arzón at a cadence of 85 and resistance of 52. So if you have a Peloton bike or a stationary bike with that kind of like, you know what I'm talking about, and you feel like you're flying, you're going that fast, and you're climbing this so-called mountain, basically, on the screen. So what does this all remind me of? It reminds me that I can do all things through Christ. I made it through the trauma of my childhood. I made it home safely to America in one piece, and I had a new Savior by my side. I made it through the tough stages of having small children with nobody to help me because we were traveling so much, and our daily lives were completely always unstable to some degree. I made it through the move of God in our lives over the 20 years of building our ministry around meeting the needs of people in their darkest moments, the darkest moments they've ever experienced. And now I am making it through this new challenging season of midlife and leaning into who I am becoming as a woman, a mother, a wife, a business owner, a leader and a teacher, and a daughter of the King. And I know that for me, oftentimes I just keep going. I have no idea that I'm actually doing hard things until somebody stops me and tells me, look at all the hard things you're doing. And then I laugh and I go, oh, thanks for pointing that out. I'm going to go cry for a little while. So I'm just doing what I see God doing and what I hear him telling me to do. That's how my husband and I have lived the past 25 years of our lives. If God says go, then we go. And that's why we pick up and we move, because God said to. He's not going to tell everybody to do that. But for us, that's how it happened. And in hindsight, I look back and I can say, most people probably define all these things I've done in my life as hard things. But it's just not as difficult to do something when you have God's direction in it. Personally, I don't look at things and evaluate them as easy or hard. That is just not the perspective that first pops up for me. I am the kind of person who says, well, it's possible, so we can figure it out. And I look at what's in front of me and I ask myself, is God with me? If he's with me, if he's saying yes, and if I'm on his path, I'm all for it. Because in that case, easy is overrated. I don't think that the acorn has a very easy path to becoming an oak of righteousness. So I guess that I don't really expect easy to be the way. I will say it's really nice when a little easy comes my direction. Yes, Jesus, I'll take a little bit more of that every now and then, right? But for you, what does that look like? If you want to let's say you want to start a business, what pieces of your story can you weave together into one another in order to remind you that you're actually capable of doing new things? You're capable of figuring out what you don't already know, and you can communicate to others what you're doing, what you're about, right? If you want to be a coach, what pieces of your story can you pull together to remind you of your love of helping people and creating an impact in the world and being a hope bringer? Look at the pieces of your story that show you what you're capable of and really speak to your destiny. Remember, your current behavior and your past behavior, they are not the same as your identity. And your history is not the same as your destiny. So go to the Lord and say, I want to walk in my identity based on the destiny that you have for me. Would you show me what that is? If you want to be healthier in any way, physically, emotionally, mentally, relationally, whatever it is, what pieces of your story remind you that you're capable of saying no to unhealthy things, that you are able to try hard things and win, and that you actually have more endurance than you give yourself credit for? So maybe your movie needs to have a moment like mine does where you literally see Jesus come save you. Maybe you need to have that in your story, or at least one of your movies, okay? But just pull the pieces together and then actually visually watch it in your imagination. I love watching this movie to remind myself that I want to see the look on my face as a 12-year-old flying down the street on my bike. Likewise, I love to see that look of determination on my face when I'm racing on my current bike, my Peloton bike, in the basement right now, telling myself I can keep going, even though my body doesn't want to. My body doesn't want to. I want to stop. I want to shower and eat food. But right now, I'm going to keep going. And there was like joy on that 12-year-old's face, the freedom of flying down the street on my bike with, look ma, no hands type of thing. But likewise, I love to see a new determination on my face that I never knew back then. This challenge, this me that I'm becoming, the movie that I see, this part of it, reminds me that I am doing hard things. And whatever it is, the power of the reminder movie, it can help you focus. It can help you gain strength for your inner man. It will help you endure and persevere and even just take charge again over areas of your life. And when you feel weak, watch this movie in your mind. Watch it so often you don't even have to try very hard to see it. Pay attention to it. Go ahead and add to it. Say, hoorah, out loud. When you get to the parts where you see yourself overcoming something and you're pressing on and you say, heck no, I'm not quitting. Remind yourself, you are capable. You are called. You are equipped. You are being released. And you have a voice and a purpose for such a time as this. So may you always be reminded by your reminder movie that in Christ you can do all things. Bless you, friends. I so appreciate you as a listener. And if you are looking for a community of like-hearted believers who love all things coaching, be sure to jump into the Christian Life Coach Collective Facebook group. Do you think you might be called to become a certified Sterling and Stone life coach? We'll learn more about the Greenhouse course where you can get trained in just 10 weeks to start building the foundation of your coaching practice. All the links you need are in the show notes. Happy story making.